The wind howled through the ruins of a forgotten city on the planet Aravel, once home to millions of alien lives. Now it was silent. Only dust, broken metal, and the faint hum of lost machines remained. The air carried the smell of burned stone and old memories. Captain Ethan Cole, soldier from Earth, moved carefully through the rubble. His armor was scratched, his steps heavy. He wasn't here for glory, only for duty. The war between humans and the Valrai Empire had ended 5 years ago, but scars still marked both sides. The peace treaty allowed human recovery teams to collect leftover technology from battle zones. And Ethan's squad was one of many assigned to clean what was left behind. Ethan looked at the broken skyline and sighed. Inside his helmet, "Another dead city," he murmured. The others in his unit were scanning for data cores, ignoring the silence that surrounded them. But Ethan always listened. Sometimes he thought he could hear whispers in the wind. Echoes of those who once lived here. He walked past a half-collapsed wall and stopped. There, faintly, he heard something. A sound that didn't belong. It was soft, shaky, and almost too quiet to be real. A cry. Ethan froze. He raised his rifle, scanning the area. "Hello?" He called out, though he doubted anyone could answer. The cry came again, clearer this time, a child's sob, weak and trembling. "Command, this is Cole," he said through his cums. "I think I heard something. Possible survivor." "Unlikely," replied his commander, Sergeant Harlow. "That planet's been dead for years. Probably an echo. Continue the sweep." But Ethan couldn't ignore it. "I'll check it out," he said, turning off the radio before Harlow could object. His boots crunched over glass and broken metal as he followed the sound deeper into the ruins. He passed burned-out vehicles and twisted statues of the Valrai tall, elegant beings with wings carved into stone. The sound grew louder as he approached an underground access tunnel covered in debris. Ethan knelt, moved a piece of metal aside, and shined his light inside. There, in the shadow, he saw a small movement, a fragile form curled up against the wall. Ethan dropped down carefully, lowering his weapon. The figure was a child, no older than 6 or 7 by human guess. Her skin glowed faintly blue, like moonlight through water. She had delicate markings along her temples, faint golden eyes, and thin ridges running down her neck, unmistakably Valrai. Ethan's breath caught. "Oh my, you're still alive." The child flinched at his voice and pressed against the wall, trembling. She was wrapped in torn fabric, her small hands clutching a cracked pendant. A faint hum came from a broken stasis pod beside her. Likely what had kept her alive all these years. Ethan lowered his helmet visor so she could see his eyes. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said softly. She didn't respond, only stared, afraid, but curious. He opened his pack and took out a ration bar. "Food," he said, showing it to her. The child tilted her head, hesitant, then slowly reached for it. She sniffed it like a small animal before taking a bite. Her eyes widened. The taste was strange but good. She began eating faster, like she hadn't eaten in days. Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah, I know. Not bad for human food, right?" When she finished, she whispered something in a faint alien tone, but Ethan didn't understand. Then she looked up at him and said, in broken common tongue, "Protector." The word hit him hard. He blinked. "Protector. No, I'm just a soldier." But the girl pointed at him again, her voice firmer. "Protector." Ethan sighed. "All right," he said gently. "Then I guess I am." He checked her vitals with his scanner. Her body temperature was low, her pulse weak. She needed warmth and rest. He wrapped her in his cloak, careful not to frighten her, and carried her up to the surface. When he reached the daylight, his team was already calling for him. "Cole, what took you so long?" Harlow shouted from across the street. But when they saw the small alien girl in his arms, they froze. "Is that a Valrai child?" Ethan nodded. She was in a stasis pod, alive. Harlow cursed under his breath. "That's trouble. You know the treaty says all Valrai relics and life forms must be reported to command." "She's not a relic," Ethan said coldly. "She's a child. Doesn't matter, Harlow said. Command will decide what to do with her. Probably study her for Ethan cut him off sharply. No, she's coming with me. She needs help. Harlow glared at him. You're out of line, Captain. Ethan didn't reply. He just turned away and headed toward the shuttle. The girl had fallen asleep in his arms, trusting him without reason. He couldn't hand her over to scientists who saw her as a specimen. His duty as a soldier might tell him one thing, but his duty as a human told him another. Back at the ship, Ethan placed the child on a medical cot and ran a soft warming field over her. He gave her clean water, watched her sleep, and wondered who she was. Her pendant had strange markings, a royal insignia. He took a photo and searched the old war database. Then he froze. The symbol was unmistakable. Princess Leora of Velrai, daughter of Queen Sarathel, ruler of the Velrai Empire. Declared dead 15 years ago during the siege of Aravel, Ethan stared at the screen in disbelief. The child in his care was the lost princess of the very empire humanity had fought. No wonder she was afraid. She'd been told humans were monsters, and yet now one had saved her. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. What am I supposed to do with you, kid? He whispered. The next morning, Ethan reported his findings partially. He told command he'd found a survivor, but not who she was. His superior ordered him to stay put until an extraction team arrived. But that evening, as the sun faded, Ethan saw fear in the girl's eyes again. Every time the radio crackled with human voices, she clung to his arm and whispered, "No bad people." Please, he understood then. If he waited for the team, they would take her away. She'd be tested, examined, maybe even used as leverage. He couldn't let that happen. That night, under the pale moons of Aravel, Ethan made a choice. He shut down his comms, loaded his ship, and prepared to leave without orders. His decision could end his career, maybe even his life, but he didn't care. There was something right about protecting this child. As he lifted off from the planet, the engines hummed softly. The girl sat beside him, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars through the cockpit window. "Where we go?" she asked in her soft accent. Ethan smiled faintly. "Home, to your people." She looked confused. "Home, far." "Yeah," he said. "Very far, but we'll get there." For the first time, she smiled, small, gentle, and innocent. "Protector, take me home," she said, nodding. Ethan looked ahead into the endless space. "Yeah, kid," he murmured. "Protector will take you home." Days passed as they traveled through old trade routes and silent systems. The child grew stronger. She told him little things, her name, Leora, and how she remembered hiding in the sleeping pod when the city fell. She remembered flashes of her mother's voice, a lullaby sung before darkness came. Ethan listened quietly, not wanting to break her fragile calm. He repaired the ship, cooked simple meals, and taught her small English words. In return, she taught him a few Valrai words, mostly the ones for food and stars. One night, while they drifted near an asteroid field, Ethan caught Leora staring at the pendant again. The royal crest shimmered faintly in her hands. "Mother," she whispered, almost like a prayer. Then she looked at Ethan. "She wait for me?" Ethan hesitated. "Maybe," he said softly. "Maybe she's still waiting." Leora nodded, closing her small hand around the pendant. "Protector, bring me to her." Her faith in him was pure, without doubt. And that faith gave Ethan strength he didn't know he still had. He plotted a course toward Valrai space, though he knew it was dangerous. Humans were not welcome there, even now. But he didn't care about politics. He cared about keeping a promise, a silent one he made the moment he found her crying in the dark. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, in the shimmering palace of Velrai Prime, Queen Sarathil stood before a vast window overlooking her world. Once her empire had stretched across the stars, filled with light and music. Now it was quiet. The queen's face was calm, but her eyes carried endless sorrow. Every night, she walked to the royal nursery untouched since the war. She would place her hand on the empty cradle and whisper her daughter's name. even though she had been told long ago there was no hope. But that night, something different happened. As she touched the pendant that hung from her neck, the twin to the one Leora carried, she felt a faint pulse, a warmth, a whisper in her mind that made her freeze, a voice. Small, distant, but real. Mother, the queen gasped, falling to her knees. The pendant glowed faintly in her hand. Her heart pounded. Leora, she whispered into the night, trembling. Far away. In the human ship drifting among the stars, Leora looked up suddenly, as if hearing something too. She turned to Ethan, her golden eyes wide. She'll hear me, she said softly. Mother, hear me? Ethan didn't understand how, but he saw the conviction in her eyes. He smiled gently. Then let's go to her. He turned on the engines. The stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped to light speed. Behind them, the war, the ruins, the pain, all faded. Ahead, there was only a promise, a mother waiting for her child, and a human soldier risking everything to bring her home. The stars stretched endlessly before Captain Ethan Cole's ship, a streak of silver and blue against the darkness of space. The hum of the engines was the only sound in the cockpit, accompanied by the quiet breathing of Princess Leora, who had curled herself on a small blanket in the corner of the cabin. Her golden eyes were wide, staring at the passing lights outside, her small hands clutching, and the royal pendant that now glimmered faintly in the ship's dim interior. Ethan kept his hands steady on the controls. Though his mind was far from calm, every light year they traveled brought them closer to Velrai Prime, a world still wary of humans. He knew they would be met with suspicion, perhaps even hostility, yet he could not turn back. This child, this girl, was the key to healing a wound that had lasted more than a decade. Protect her, Leora whispered suddenly, breaking the long silence. Ethan glanced at her. Yes, Mother. She will know I am coming. Her voice trembled with hope and fear. Ethan smiled faintly. I think she will. I hope she's been waiting for you, kid. I really do, Leora nodded, but her small face tightened. What if she does not forgive humans? Ethan shook his head. She might not, but not all humans are bad. I'm not, and neither are you. You'll see, she'll understand that. Leora seemed to consider this, then leaned back against the wall. I trust you, Protector. That trust filled Ethan with quiet determination. He had spent years as a soldier, fighting wars he sometimes did not fully understand. Yet this mission, returning a lost child to her mother, felt different. It felt right. And somehow he knew that this small act could change more than just one life. Hostile spaces, they approached the outer borders of Velrai space. Tension grew. Sensor readings showed patrol ships ahead, some scanning for intruders, others for smugglers. Humans were not welcome here, even after peace was declared. A wrong move could trigger alarm, and an armed confrontation was the last thing Ethan wanted. He switched to manual controls, guiding the ship through a narrow asteroid field. Leora pressed close to the console, her tiny hand gripping the edge as she watched massive rocks drift past them. They will not shoot. Ethan murmured more to himself than to her. If we show no threat, they will hold fire. Maybe. A blinking red light suddenly filled the cockpit. Sensors detected a patrol vessel on an intercept course. Its weapon systems hummed faintly, scanning their ship. Stay calm, Ethan told Leora, keeping his voice steady. We do exactly what they tell us. Understand. Leora nodded silently, holding her pendant to her chest. Ethan activated the external comms and hailed the patrol ship. A voice crackled over the speakers, deep, authoritative. Unmistakably Velrai. Human vessel. Identify yourself and state purpose of entry. Ethan kept his hands on the controls. I am Captain Ethan Cole of the United Earth Fleet. I am transporting a Velrai royal child. Princess Leora to her mother on Velrai Prime. Silence followed. Then the patrol voice returned, tense but curious. Velrai, royal child. Proof? Ethan hesitated. Then he carefully held the pendant up to the camera. The patrol ship's sensors scanned it. After a long pause, the voice spoke again. We will escort you. Any attempt to resist will be met with force. Ethan exhaled slowly, feeling the tension leave his shoulders. Understood. The patrol ship followed them closely, their sleek alien hull glinting in the light of nearby stars. Inside the cockpit, Leora let out a small sigh. Protector. They are not like the humans who fight. No, Ethan agreed. They are different. But we're not here to fight. We're here to get you home. Close encounters as. They drew nearer to Valrai Prime. The patrol ship guided them through a heavily guarded checkpoint. Massive towers rose from the planet's surface, scanning ships as they entered the atmosphere. Ethan had navigated through military zones before, but nothing compared to this. Finally, they were brought before the capital citadel, a towering structure of silver and crystal that gleamed under the twin suns. It stretched into the clouds, a monument to the Valrai Empire's former glory. Patrol ships hovered around it, scanning every vessel that approached. The ship descended slowly, guided by Valrai controllers. Leora clung to Ethan's arm, trembling but determined. Protector. She will be there. Ethan nodded. Yes, kid. And you will be safe. The gates opened, revealing a massive hall filled with guards. At the center, standing on a raised dais, was Queen Serathel herself. Her presence was commanding. Her armor shimmered silver and gold, her eyes glowing faintly. For a moment, she seemed frozen in time, regal and untouchable. When she saw the child, her eyes widened. A gasp escaped her lips. The guards tensed, weapons ready. Who brings her? The queen demanded, her voice sharp and strong. Ethan stepped forward, hands raised slightly. Your Majesty, I am Captain Ethan Cole of Earth. I found your daughter on Aravel and brought her back to you. I am no threat. The queen's eyes narrowed. A human? She stared at him, disbelief and fury flickering across her face. Explain yourself. Ethan nodded, keeping his tone calm. She was alone, trapped in a stasis pod. She was weak and afraid. I could not leave her behind. I made a choice. To protect her. The guards exchanged glances. Some whispered. Others gripped their weapons tighter. Humans had been enemies for decades. Yet here stood one, claiming to have saved the queen's lost child. Leora stepped forward from behind Ethan. Her small voice rang out, clear and confident. Mom, I'm back. He saved me. Time seemed to freeze. The queen's eyes widened, then softened. She looked at her daughter, now running forward, arms outstretched. Leora's tears fell freely as she cried into her mother's chest. The queen's guards lowered their weapons slowly, unsure whether to intervene. The mighty queen herself trembled as she held her daughter, her face wet with tears. Leora, my child, she whispered, barely able to breathe. Ethan stood quietly, hands at his sides giving them space. His mission was complete. His heart ached at the sight the queen so powerful. Now, only a mother desperate to reclaim her lost child. The moment of trust after, several long minutes. The queen looked at Ethan. Her gaze was intense, measuring him. Why did you risk yourself for her? She demanded. Ethan bowed slightly. Because she is a child. She needed her mother. I could not leave her alone. The queen's expression softened. No human had ever spoken to her with such honesty, such selflessness. And you ask nothing in return? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. Nothing, Ethan said, except to see her safely home. The queen nodded slowly, her mind processing the enormity of what had happened. You are unlike other humans, she said softly. Perhaps. There is more hope for peace than I believed. Leora clung to her mother, whispering stories of her time alone. She spoke of the dark ruins, the strange humans she feared, and the one who had protected her. Queen Serathel listened, tears streaming, until finally she spoke with quiet authority. You will stay, she said to Ethan, for now. I want to understand how this human has earned my trust. Ethan blinked, surprised. Your Majesty? Your duty is done, Captain Cole, the queen said. But your presence will help bridge the gap between our worlds. Perhaps you can teach us. About humans who act with honor. Ethan nodded humbly. I will do what I can. Hope reborn. Over the next few days, Ethan stayed in the Citadel, assisting with communication and explaining the child's journey. Leora never left her mother's side, showing both fear and joy in equal measure. Slowly, the Queen began to open up, asking about humans, Earth, and the strange bravery of one soldier who risked everything for a child. Word of Ethan's actions spread quickly across Velrai Prime. The tale of the human who returned the lost princess ignited a quiet hope among the Velrai people. Perhaps not all humans were enemies. Perhaps peace was possible. For Leora, every moment with her mother felt like a dream. She repeated Ethan's name often, calling him protector with warmth and gratitude. And for the Queen, every glance at Ethan reminded her that acts of kindness could come from the most unexpected places. One evening, standing in the palace garden beneath the twin moons, the Queen turned to Ethan. You have returned what the universe took from me, she said, voice soft but strong. You have reminded us that courage and honor are not bound to any race, but to heart. Thank you, Captain Cole. Ethan smiled faintly, feeling the weight of the journey lift. It was nothing, Your Majesty. I only did what I knew was right. The little princess hugged his leg. Protector, you saved me. I love you. Ethan patted her head gently. And I will always protect you, kid. Always. As the stars twinkled overhead, the citadel of Velrai Prime glimmered with new light. For the first time in many years, the galaxy felt less cold, less hostile. The lost child had returned. The Queen had been reunited with her daughter. And one human soldier had reminded two worlds that hope and compassion could survive even after the darkest war. The twin suns of Velrai Prime sank low, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. The palace gardens shimmered as the light touched crystalline fountains, casting dancing reflections on the smooth floors. In the middle of it all, Queen Sarathiel held her daughter, Princess Leora, close. Her heart felt full and heavy at once, joy mixed with the lingering ache of lost years. Ethan Cole, standing a few steps away, watched them quietly. His hands rested loosely at his sides. He had spent days in the Citadel, helping where he could. But now he realized the real task was ending, convincing a mighty Queen to trust a human fully. Leora looked up at her mother, and then at Ethan. Protector, will you stay? She asked softly. Ethan smiled faintly. Kid, I can stay a little. I think your mom might need me around too. The Queen's gaze shifted to him, piercing yet calm. Captain Cole, she said slowly, you have done what no human could be expected to do. You returned my child. You brought her through danger and gave her back to me. Yet I must ask, what is your purpose here? Why risk so much for one child? Ethan took a slow breath. Your Majesty, I didn't think about rules or politics or war. I only knew she was alone and she needed a parent. You are her parent. That was enough reason for me to act. The Queen studied him. Her golden eyes softened. She had seen many humans, some cruel, some cunning. But none had ever acted without selfishness, without expectation of reward. Ethan's answer carried a sincerity that pierced through centuries of mistrust. You speak honestly, she said quietly. It is rare among your kind. Ethan shrugged. I guess I'm not like most humans, and I don't want to be. Bridging two worlds over the following days, the palace buzzed with whispers. The Velrai people, long wary of humans, spoke of the soldier who returned their princess. Scholars debated, diplomats argued, and guards shared stories of the man who had defied orders to protect a child. Ethan moved carefully among them, aware that every step, every word mattered. He helped with communications between Velrai authorities and human command, explaining the journey, the dangers, and Leora's survival. He answered questions patiently, never bragging, only stating facts. Queen Sarathiel observed him silently, occasionally walking through the gardens to speak with him privately. One afternoon she approached as the suns cast long shadows over the marble paths. You risked much for my child, she said. Many of my guards wish to punish you, and my people are unsure how to react. But you acted with honor, tell me. Do all humans have this capacity? Ethan shook his head. No, Your Majesty. Many humans make mistakes. Some hurt others, but some choose to do right, even when it's hard. I think we are all capable of that. I hope you can see it now. The Queen nodded slowly. Perhaps I do. Perhaps your actions are a reminder that judgment must not come from fear or war alone. A bond forged in Corigliora thrived under her mother's care, yet she never left Ethan's side. She called him Protector, a title she wore proudly, reminding the palace of the courage and kindness that had returned her to her mother. One evening, under the twin moons, Leora led Ethan to a quiet courtyard. The air was calm, scented with alien flowers that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Protector, she said, holding his hand. Thank you for bringing me home. I was so scared, but you never left me. You are like family now. Ethan knelt to meet her gaze. Kid, I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because it was right, but I'll always be here for you, if you want me to be. Leora smiled, tears shining in her eyes. I do, always. The Queen watched from a distance, feeling a strange warmth. She saw not just the child and the soldier, but a bridge between two worlds, humans and Velrai. Forged by a simple act of bravery, challenges of diplomacy, news of Ethan's actions reached the broader Velrai Council. Some elders were skeptical. A human cannot be trusted, they whispered in private chambers. We cannot forget the war, yet others argued. Perhaps this is a sign. One human chose compassion over conquest. Perhaps we should listen, not judge. Queen Sarathel, strengthened by seeing her daughter safe, spoke to the council. This soldier returned Leora to me. He did not act for gain, nor for glory. He acted with honor. That is proof enough that trust can exist beyond old wars. We should recognize his courage, not punish it, the council murmured. Tension filled the chamber, but the Queen's authority was absolute. Slowly, the room quieted. She turned to Ethan. Captain Cole, you are a guest in my palace, but also a teacher. Perhaps you will help us see what we have been blind to for too long. Ethan inclined his head. I'll do what I can, Your Majesty. But know this, I did not save Leora to be a hero. I saved her because it was right. The Queen's eyes glimmered. And that is exactly why you are trusted here. The princess speaks in private moments. Leora often spoke of her time alone, of fear, hope, and the small joys she had found in Ethan's protector. She whispered one night as they walked in the palace garden, I was scared of everyone, even my own people. But you made me safe. You made me brave. Ethan knelt beside her, brushing a small lock of hair from her face. You were always brave, kid. I just reminded you. She laughed softly, leaning against him. You are not like other humans. You are different. My mother sees it too, Ethan said, smiling faintly. And now she knows something important. Courage and kindness can come from anywhere, even a human soldier. The Queen's gift one morning, Queen Sarathel summoned Ethan to her private chambers. She handed him a small, intricately carved amulet, the royal seal of the Velrai Empire. This is for you, Captain Cole, she said. You have proven yourself not only to me, but to my people. Let this remind you that honor and courage are respected across worlds. Ethan took it, stunned. Your Majesty, I thank you. The Queen smiled, a rare warmth in her expression. You do not need my thanks. Your actions speak louder than words. But know this, you have changed us all. You have shown that humanity is capable of compassion, even in the darkest times. Leora ran forward, hugging Ethan tightly. Protector, we love you. Ethan laughed softly, hugging her back. I think I love you too, kid. You're impossible to ignore. A new beginning word of the human soldier spread throughout the Velrai Empire. Peace talks that had been stalled for decades began again, with Velrai leaders more open to dialogue. Stories of Ethan's courage inspired a generation, reminding both humans and Velrai that bravery was not measured by weapons or wars, but by acts of compassion and protection. For Leora, life was no longer filled with fear. She had her mother, her family, and her protector, who would always watch over her. For Queen Sarathil, hope had returned. Her daughter was safe, and the future of her people looked brighter. And for Ethan Cole, the human soldier, there was a quiet satisfaction that came from knowing he had done the right thing. He had saved a child, reunited a mother and daughter, and reminded to civilizations that the heart could transcend hatred and war. Farewell. But not goodbye. When it was time for Ethan to leave, the queen and her daughter stood with him in the palace gardens beneath the glowing twin moons. Leora held his hand tightly, and the queen placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You have returned what the universe stole from me," Queen Sarathil said. "The Velrai owe you more than words. Your courage has reminded us that honor exists in every world." Ethan bowed his head respectfully. "I only did what I knew was right, Your Majesty. That's all I could do." Leora handed him her pendant, the royal insignia shining. "Take this protector, so you will never be alone. And remember, we will always be your family." Ethan smiled, holding it close. "I will never forget, and I promise. I will always protect you, kid. Always." As his ship rose into the stars, the queen and her daughter watched silently. The galaxy had witnessed war, hatred, and loss. But now, it had also seen hope, courage, and a human heart that had reminded them all of the power of love and honor. And somewhere in the endless expanse of space, Captain Ethan Cole looked down at the small pendant, feeling a bond stronger than any duty. Stronger than any war. A bond that would forever connect humanity and Velrai. Through courage, compassion, and the heart of one protector.